Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on?
Heard you wanted to have a chat.
Yeah, I thought so. People want to have a chat. Is this a debate?
Why, isn't that what all chats are?
I don't know. I prefer discussions for some of them. Some of them debates. Uh,
Okay, let's
seem
call
a
it a
different.
discussion then. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. What are we having a discussion over?
I have no idea.
Oh,
Do you have a topic in mind? I don't know. I have no idea
I
what
thought
topic
people
you're
were
looking.
saying that some guy in my Twitch chat kept saying that you wanted to talk to me.
No. I mean, it was kind of based off of someone told me that in my chat yesterday.
Oh, well,
Was
that's
there
pretty cringe.
was there a topic?
I don't know. Destiny, go over his YouTube video. What video?
Yeah, which one?
Did you make another video defaming me recently?
I did make, yeah, I made a couple of them. I made a couple of videos in the past few weeks, yeah.
Oh, shit. What was your most recent one about?
The most recent one, I saw what you were talking about on, I think it was Mindwave's podcast, and
Yeah?
you were talking about bad representatives of the left, and you were giving your reasoning for that.
And I was giving a reason for bad representatives of the left?
Yeah, you were saying that Kyle Kulinski and Michael Brooks, and they were bad representatives, and you were saying that Sam Cedar and David Packman were the only acceptable ones.
Those are the only guys that I like trust and I give super biased shit. I guess like Pac-Man or not Pac-Man, Brooks and like Kulinski like preach to the choir pretty well, I guess, but I would never put them up against somebody that like doesn't already believe everything they're gonna tell them.
And so, what made you turn on Michael Brooks?
I don't know. I just pay attention a little bit more. I think that he's like hardcore shelled himself out for Bernie Sanders, like past any point of having any amount of integrity when it comes to dealing with stuff like that. It's kind of sad.
What indicates that?
Fuck, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. I think one of the big things recently was the very weird attacks that are happening against Buttigieg over him like saying like some pretty basic and standard shit. It kind of looks a little bit unhinged in my opinion.
So you're talking about the response that he had. So what I think you misunderstood in there, and you definitely, I don't know if it was on accident or on purpose, but you definitely misunderstood what he was saying for sure. Um, you seem to take him as saying that you thought that he was being a class reductionist or that was just class and he was being like this sly snake. But what he was trying to say is that basically the entire system is set up to work against, poor people and minorities specifically. So
Do you think
I think
Buttigieg would disagree with that based on what he said so far?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, doesn't seem to be very receptive to the African American community
In his policies? What do you mean?
in general. I mean, he doesn't have a good outreach. He's had this scandal, this police scandal recently, and there's a
Wait. Which
video.
police scandal recently?
There was the scandal that was uncovered. It was like a cop was fired. I forget the details of it specifically.
Hold on one second.
But are you gonna look it up? Hello?
I think he left for
Oh,
a sec.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm back.
okay.
Oh, the police thing. That was when he was a mayor or whatever. That's not like a recent
Yeah, that's what
scandal,
he was in
but
there. Yeah, so that was
but
recently
but I mean, like,
uncovered in the
without
campaign.
having
But
to.
no,
So
but
like,
but but, but there's like no, but there's a video of these two constituents of his, these two African American constituents of his, who are basically asking him how they can support him based on that, and the way he responds is by this really loaded way of saying that he says, "I'm not asking you for your vote." And he put out this what he called this Frederick Douglass plan recently, but he literally used a stock photo of, I believe it was a mom and kid from Kenya, I believe it was. Might have been Ethiopia, but I think it was Kenya. And he
okay,
also
wait,
made
hold
up
on,
a
wait,
bunch
let's
of
okay,
endorsements.
wait, let's calm down. Let's go through these like one at a time, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So, firstly, do you acknowledge that without having to do like some weird inferencing, without having to draw on past events, there's absolutely nothing that he said that was wrong during the actual like interview on TV when he was talking about like education, right? Or do you think that that in and of itself was wrong?
Um, No, I don't think I disagree with what he's saying. No, and I didn't
Okay,
really
so
agree with any outrage over that comment.
okay, there was a lot, right? Like Brooks literally
Yeah,
captioned that tweet and said, "This is disgusting."
right, right. And so I didn't agree with that from him actually.
Okay, that's weird because it sounded like you just spent all this time defending his take on it.
Well, I did because your response I thought was wrong.
Okay, and now, so my response had to do with that particular thing. When Brooks said that this is a material analysis, what does he mean when he says this is a material analysis?
I don't know, and I don't remember him saying that, but I don't know what that means. I'm assuming you mean
Okay,
superficial, maybe. I don't
material
know,
analysis.
or
So
not deep.
material analysis. So dialectical materialism is the way that like Marx views history through class. That's literally what that means. A material analysis is a class analysis. That's why I said that Michael Brooks was saying that he was reducing it to class by hand waving away the intersectional approach that Buttigieg took, saying that well requires a material analysis. That's why it seems like that's kind of an important part of his statement to understand. No.
Who's to understand Pete Buttigieg's statement or Michael's?
To understand Brooks's statement.
Oh well,
Like Brooks
he's
is saying this requires a material analysis.
right. So he's saying it requires an all of the above approach.
Well, which I'm sure Buttigieg would agree with, but this particular thing was about like seeing education work. Like nothing wrong with that. Like just
Yeah,
because you
no.
don't bring up every single problem at once doesn't mean you're ignoring all the other aspects of a problem, right?
Well, yeah, but so there's there seems to be a more deep reason as to why they're not seeing these role models, right? Which is that the
Yeah,
system is essentially
probably.
rigged against them, right? So
Yeah,
that's
which
kind of
I'm
his
sure everybody
response.
would agree. Well, yeah, but like you realize that that's like very reductive and dumb. Not like reductive like class reductionist, but like if I were to say like I'm having a big problem here because I can't afford my rent, and then somebody says, "Oh, well, what you need were better parents," like that, like, well, no, what I need is a better job. Well, if you wanted a better job, you would have gotten a better education. If you would have had better parents, they would have sent you a better school. Like that, that doesn't really make sense to say that. Like,
I mean, I disagree with that. I think it's a actually pretty I think that's a pretty deep I think that's a good response. I think. I
that if
think that
somebody
looking at
says
it
that, like,
overarching
hey,
like that, I
here's
think
some,
it's good. Well, I think in this scenario it works. I don't know in what scenarios you kind of make up. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna work, but I think this one it makes sense. I mean, to
so right now, so are you saying we should like you realize that like Buttigieg basically gave like the super standard argument for like all affirmative action? Should we just scrap all affirmative action because it demands a deeper analysis, or
no, I don't think so.
okay, so then we don't agree, or we agree that Pete's statement was fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with Pete's statement. Yes,
Okay, cool. All right. So
I felt
what else have I
what I
said?
felt like was I just thought that your response to him saying he's a class reductionist, which he's not. He spends like he might even spend a majority of his time talking about race and racism, etc., etc. So
It
that's
just
what I
seemed
had thought
very
was wrong.
weird for him to give class reductionist arguments when Buttigieg was making arguments like based on race. Like Buttigieg was making a very specific argument in favor of affirmative action, and then Michael decided to hand wave all of it and say this requires a class analysis. Like that's kind of weird. That's kind of a weird way to hand wave what Pete was saying, I think.
I mean, maybe, but I kind of see both on that. But I guess they're all tied in one, which I think is what he's trying to say. But yeah,
Okay, you don't want me to wait real quick. Am I keeping all strawberries?
Yeah, keep all of them for jam.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'll put them in a chest over here. All
Okay.
right. So I don't really know what our disagreement is. What else do you disagree with? What else am I
uh,
in your videos for? I know you like to make a lot of them about me
all
sometimes.
right. Look, so do you support Bernie Sanders?
Nah, fuck Bernie. I don't like him anymore.
How come? What
I need to
happened?
just
What changed? Tell me what changed. Did you like him in the
um
first place though? Because I remember I saw your
yeah. So my
interview from
initial
Dave.
point was that I think having somebody more to the left of me is probably beneficial because the country is kind of veered off like so far right. But like I think it's gotten to the point with every new proposal. Like I disagree with Bernie on so much economic policy now that it feels a little bit silly. That like if I say that like I think I kind of like the idea of Bernie being in office, like I have to literally disagree with every single policy position that he has now. Like he's gone more extreme than he was in 2016. So
Which new policies are more extreme?
so like the federal jobs guarantee behind the new Green Deal is very
What's your
iffy.
problem with the
The
federal jobs guarantee? Just curious.
I don't think in the United States. I don't think the way to fix jobs in the United States is with federal government guaranteeing jobs. I don't like that idea. It feels
But I mean,
not
it's
good to
just
me.
infrastructure. Federal jobs guarantee is just it's just expanding infrastructure. It's the same thing.
And once that
Um,
infrastructure is expanded, you think he would cancel all those programs? Of course not.
Cancel which programs?
Any programs that are spun up under a federal jobs guarantee. A
Well,
federal
they
jobs guarantee is their way of ensuring certain wages are paid by creating federal jobs that guarantee a certain wage, forcing the private market to match those wages. That's what the point of a federal jobs guarantee is. It's not just to repair infrastructure and then release
no,
all
I
those
know it's
jobs.
not. I understand that, but uh,
Okay.
ideally we'd have the minimum wage raised as well, so it would be sort of at the same level.
Sure, possibly, but I don't like the idea. Like, I think that contracting private companies to do this is fine. It's worked decently well. Like, as long as the money's there for it, like, I'd rather continue to do that than to have these become like federal jobs. It seems weird to me. So I'm not in favor of that. The nationwide rent control is beyond fucking stupid. Um, I'm he's the and then he has kind of the same stuff that he had before that I don't like. He's like very protectionist when it comes to economic policies.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at right now. Oh, the Medicare for all, the banning private health insurance now is it feels more extreme than it was in 2016. Now that we have an actual proposal, so I'm not a big fan of that either. And yeah,
Why
that's where I'm
don't
at right
you?
now.
What do you have against that? Is it just because you like the private or the free market or something, or what's the reason?
I think banning private health insurance is laughable. It's never going to pass. It doesn't even test well with Democrats. The idea that that would ever survive a general, let alone like be implemented in any type of legislation, is just hilariously naive.
So you
And
don't
I think a
disagree
public
with you don't
options.
disagree with the policy. You disagree with its viability.
Um, yeah, I think I'd probably. I mean, the policy is way better than what we have now, but the viability is non-existent.
So your main disagreement with it is based on viability. So what makes you think that he would lose the general election on that policy? Because as of right now, like that's his stated policy, and he's
Well,
doing
right now
pretty
he's
well right
losing the
now.
primaries. We haven't even gotten to the general election, and he's like hopelessly behind in the primaries.
Well,
So,
he's
I
not
mean,
hopelessly behind. He's in second place right now, and Biden's obviously has the benefit of being the vice president of Barack Obama, as well as obviously, name recognition in the polls. So,
yeah, and
um,
Bernie Sanders had the benefit of being able to campaign for an entire election cycle and still hasn't been able to move the needle past like
yeah, but he
25%.
was
Bernie is
nobody
polling
back
the
then, dude. He was nobody back then.
yeah,
Joe
but he
Biden
came in
has been
20
in
but he
politics for
came in
decades.
Yeah, but he came in here extremely popular, but he couldn't break the like 30% mark ever. He came in at 25%. He's still at 25%. He hasn't budged at all. He's gone up a little, he's gone down a little, but he's never broken past a quarter of voters. And new people have come in and new people have gone, and he's never managed to expand his coalition. Biden literally cannibalizes all the same people that vote for Bernie. Biden has more poor people, more working class people, more black people, more brown people that support him than Bernie does. Bernie hasn't been able to make any headway there. And all the educated people go for people like Warren or for people like Buttigieg. Bernie's made no progress there
Do you
either.
have numbers on the Biden less educated people? Because from the stats that I've seen, the percentages, vast majority go to Bernie when it comes to people who don't have college degrees.
Um, I mean, these are the numbers that I looked up. You can go look it up right now if you want to. I guess. The ones that I looked up, like the coalition of voters that were shared by different politicians, by different candidates, Bernie and Biden shared more or less the exact same coalition of voters of poor, working class, and then multiracial voters, or whatever. Typically went to those two candidates.
From the numbers I've seen, Bernie has a number. I have to look up the numbers, but let me see.
Pierre wants a flower. You said like a daffodil or whatever.
And daffodil.
Fuck. Not a blue jazz.
No, daffodil.
I need to find the link here. Hold on.
I think there's a 538 page on this. Somebody might have a link to it in chat.
All right, pull up whatever you have. It's gonna be tough.
Somebody in chat, go do the digging.
Need the data on this one. Also, it is worth noting that it's mostly old people who are supporting Joe Biden, I should say, it's a majority of older people who are supporting Joe Biden.
Yeah, that hurts Bernie even more because older people are more likely to vote.
Yeah, that does hurt him. That's why we need to get a mass movement of young people to go out to vote. Are you still a fan of John Delaney?
I don't know if I was ever a fan of John Delaney. He seems like an okay guy, but he's never gonna have a shot at making it anywhere. So.
Okay. So what are some other policies you disagree with Bernie on?
The nationwide rent control is pretty stupid.
Okay, I'm pretty mixed on rent control. I don't know enough about it actually.
Okay.
So I'm a bit
Um,
agnostic on that. In economics,
I
I
don't
know
really
that.
like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, yeah, economics like protectionist policies are pretty dumb, I think.
I see. Okay, so you're not protectionist policies. So what made you support him in the first place? Then that's my question. Because all these things that you're mentioning, he had already supported. Like these were all his
I
policies
don't
already.
remember there being a literal nationwide rent control policy back in 2016. I feel like that's newer. I don't remember the
Yeah,
federal
that
jobs
one might be
guarantee.
newer. Yeah, I don't recall that.
Yeah.
I don't recall
Federal
that one
jobs
either.
guarantee came as part of the Green New Deal, and his healthcare plan, that Medicare for All, the banning private insurance. I didn't understand that provision of it in 2016 because he didn't have actual legislation push back then either. So those three new things are pretty big and pretty sweeping.
So who are you supporting in the primary now?
I don't know. Warren is okay. Maybe even Pete. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at his actual policies, but yeah.
Looking at Pete. So you don't have a chosen candidate then. Okay, well, okay, well, don't know. Is there anything else?
Well, I don't know. When you make videos of me, when I watch videos, you go real fucking hard. You're like screaming about how much of like a fucking idiot I am, and what's where's the fire? Bring the heat.
Um, I don't know. That's kind of more the video type of stuff.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you what I disagree with you on here. I'm trying to think of other stuff. Let me see. There's some other. So you said that you don't
Where's
think
the
billionaires.
energy?
Oh wait,
I
sorry.
don't think billionaires what?
You don't. You said you don't think that we should not have billionaires, right? That's your opinion.
I mean, if we don't have billionaires as a byproduct of some tax plan, that's okay. But the idea of like literally demonizing billionaires is really fucking weird to me. Sometimes I get this feeling that progressives are more obsessed with hating wealthy people than actually loving poor people, which gives me really weird vibes at times.
But don't you see those two things as being literally tethered?
Absolutely not.
How
That is
come?
very weird to say.
How?
Because why? Because I can sit there and because I can want better things for poor people without having to shit on billionaires. I don't know. It's
But
weird. I
how do
don't
you
think those
get the
things are.
stuff for poor people without dealing with the billionaires?
You don't have to deal with the billionaires. You have to do things like increase taxes and then expand
Right. So
like
that's
social
part of
programs.
what dealing with billionaires is, right? Like changing tax policy.
Yeah, yeah. So just change tax policy. If we lose all
So
the billionaires or whatever because we change tax policy, that's fine. But when you're targeting billionaires, when you're saying like billionaires are evil and we need to get rid of them, like I don't know, it's just weird. Like if billionaires disappear because of changes we make to the tax code, that's okay. But the obsession with like shitting on
don't you
billionaires
think
just
the
feels really.
existence of billionaires is detrimental to our society and our country?
I mean, if billionaires existed, but we still had enough money to fund all sorts of social programs so that we were comparable to like Norway or Sweden, do you think billionaires would still be evil?
I don't know if I think yeah, in general, yes, I think so. I think in
Okay, well, because
general
like
billionaires
Sweden and
evil, but
Norway literally have more billionaires per capita than the U.S. So I mean, that just seems like a really strange position to take. And those countries are always the ones that we like model ourselves off of. They seem to be doing okay with the number of billionaires that they have.
yeah, that's interesting. No, I think that I'd have to look into those numbers. I think you are right about that, but no, I think that $1 billion is an insane amount of money, and it's also
Who are you to
tough
judge
to,
that?
huh? I
What,
mean, I think it's
who
just like
cares what
a
you
number
think
you could
about
come
that?
to.
It's an insane amount of money.
Well,
What's that?
yeah,
I
but
mean, some people.
what happens when the majority of the country comes to that conclusion though? Then does it matter?
No, well, I'm not asking about the. I mean, if the majority of the country could come to the conclusion that Jews are evil, we could Holocaust them. That doesn't really mean anything in terms of your argument. I'm just asking, like, what? I don't. It's just I don't know why we have to shit on billionaires or millionaires. Like, why not just like say like, hey, like these are the social programs we need. These are the funds we have to raise to pay for them, and then that's it. Like,
Well,
why does it have to be like a war on billionaires?
haven't
Why have to?
you you've talked about studies that show that wealth inequality is a negative for society, right?
Yeah.
So you don't see those as being tethered at all. Like,
Wealth
how do you have wealth?
inequality being negative has more to do with like neighborhoods or districts of a city that contain very wealthy people and very poor people, not like an entire country having like a few billionaires and then people that aren't billionaires. Like it has to do with when you start mixing like income into certain regions that causes things to fuck up. This is one of the reasons, for instance, why Black people have so much crime, even when you start to get up to like middle income levels, is because even wealthy Black people still can live in like really fucked up neighborhoods because of the income inequality that exists in those neighborhoods.
And what do you think of the problem of there being a democracy and people who are uber wealthy?
I mean, when too much money gives you access to like politicians, that's probably a problem. That's one of the reasons why I originally like Bernie Sanders. I think campaign finance reform is pretty important.
Don't you think that at a certain point it's inevitable that that happens?
I mean, depending on how entangled financial interests are with elections, sure.
Like at a certain point that basically wealth inequality becomes too much and there's so much wealth concentrated among such a small amount of people that basically you end up with a plutocracy or an oligarchy, which is what I would argue we pretty much have now.
I mean, if that's true, then like, why wasn't the DNC and Hillary Clinton with all of her corporate interests able to topple Trump in the last election cycle?
Well, I mean, she won, but it's not always going to end up like that. But Trump had corporate backers as well.
Didn't Hillary outspend Trump in that election? I'm not sure. I'd have
Yeah,
to
but
look at the
there's a law
numbers.
of diminishing returns that comes into play, though, and that's
If
a
there's
very
diminishing returns, then we don't have to worry about super wealthy people because their money will be diminishing returned in terms of how they spend
no.
it.
But the point that it's already at before it diminishes is very significant.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't disagree that like money in politics might be a problem, but this is a far different answer than the way we solve, problems with poor people is by getting rid of all the billionaires.
So what social programs do you support?
Um, I think having like some form, like our educational system needs to be more accessible. And we need to ensure some form of universal health coverage. And then something more to help with like Section 8, like housing is probably important. I think those are three big places to start.
What's your preferred healthcare system? What detail to me the logistics of your ideal healthcare system?
Some sort of multi-payer or single-payer system is probably okay. So multi-payer meaning private insurance with a public option, or single-payer meaning the government is the sole provider of healthcare. Private or public hospitals seem to be okay. I think in the NHS and I think in Canada, I think they have private and public hospitals. Even though the government is like the single payer for healthcare stuff, it's probably fine. But I don't know, some multi-payer or single-payer thing. I'm not too. I don't care too much about like what the details of that are, as long as the actual coverage of the healthcare itself is funded by the government. Yeah.
Okay. So you would support Medicare for all if there was no private health insurance ban?
Yeah, as like Medicare for all is like a public option, I think would be probably good. Yeah,
By a public option, what exactly do you mean by that? You mean like it's a two-tier
as in you have an
system or a
option to
public
like buy
option?
into like a government, like a public government insurance option or whatever. Yeah.
But like, what about? Well, because I mean, if you're making a single payer, you're going into the tier of like, funding it through taxation, and so it'd be free at point of access. So, you wouldn't be like
Um.
buying into it. It'd be like, it's funded through. I mean, if you're doing a public option, I mean, that's very different from a
Well, I mean,
Medicare
like a
for all
public
system.
option could still have like reduced costs for people that are poor,
Yeah.
right?
So do you just go for an all of the above approach, or do you just support that?
I think any form of universal health coverage, whether it comes in the form of single payer or multi payer, is preferential to what we have right now.
Okay. Okay. What's your ideal system? Which one is your ideal?
I looked at data to find out which one I would support, and both multi-payer and single-payer systems are deployed successfully across Europe, where some systems have slightly better advantages than other systems, but for the most part, they both seem preferable to what we have
Is
now.
there any
I don't.
system in specific? Any country in specific?
I mean, I think the ones that we looked at had to do with Sweden, Spain, and the United Kingdom and Germany. In terms of who uses like multi-pair and single pair, but I mean the study looked at like several countries and it just seemed like there were a couple advantages to single pair and a couple to multi-pair, but no, I don't have like a huge preference on one or the other.
Okay. Um, and your thoughts on free college education?
I think making college accessible to everyone is really important. Making it free to everyone sounds really fucking expensive.
How come though? The
Like
numbers the numbers aren't like that. So the numbers are, it's about $80 billion a year, which we basically allocate that we raise our military budget by essentially that much every year,
First of all,
and
we don't raise our military budget 80 a year. That's absolutely not true. Secondly, you think free education for the entire country is $80 billion a year?
yeah, all public universities, not private universities, just public ones.
I would have to see the numbers on that, but my understanding was that this was on the scale of trillions, not 80
Are you
billion.
talking about the cancellation of student debt, or are you talking about free college? Because they're different things.
I'm talking about free college.
So yeah, it's definitely not in the
So like if
trillions.
I
I
look
mean,
up like Bernie college plan cost, I thought it was like 10 trillion over 10 years or whatever.
10 trillion over 10 years. No, certainly not. It's only 80 billion. We're talking just
Let me
public
check.
universities here, so you're looking at 80 billion a year. And And we do raise our military budget by that much every year. It's over like 10 years, so it'll be like 800 over 10, 800
I
billion
thought
over
our
10
military
years.
budget was like around 600 to 650 billion right now.
Yeah, I think it's higher than that now. They keep boosting it every year. I think they just
If
boosted
it
it
was being
again.
raised by 80 billion every year, that means 10 years ago we had no military budget.
No, oh, I have to look at those numbers again. They just raised it again.
Okay, sorry. So it seems like Bernie Sanders' proposal is about 220 billion a year right now. I'm sorry. 2.2 trillion over 10 years.
So it's 220 billion.
220 billion a year. But regardless, whatever his proposal is, if you bring like all middle class and all wealthy people into the fold of this, it's going to be way more expensive than if you would just make them pay for it.
What do you mean it'd be more expensive? For the country? Is it
Like,
debt?
yeah, for the country, like we would have to raise more in taxes or find more in the budget to pay for it.
Right. So
Oh,
the plan that Bernie has to fund this is a 1% Wall Street speculation tax.
yeah, which have been proven to not really raise money the way that we want them to.
Has it been? By what studies?
In Sweden, they tried an FTT, a financial transaction tax, and like I think they tried it on options trading, and like 96% of that market disappeared. I think they tried a similar FTT in the UK, or it might have been another country. And typically, what happens is anytime you put a financial transaction tax out there, you dramatically curb that type of investment, and what you see is like people moving money in other ways, and the amount of money you would expect to raise from it dramatically decreases. I think other people have gone through Bernie's like projected earnings from that and have found that the projected earnings are not really as high as Bernie's camp says they would be.
So aren't these on, generally speaking, like all Wall Street speculation? So I don't understand how it could be, like which ones would it lower? Because what it sounds like you're saying is that in those other countries, they did it in specific stocks or specific financial instruments. What it looks like here is
Mm-hmm.
he's doing it all like in all of the above approach.
Then people would probably find different ways to invest their money, would be my guess, if it was like cutting into profits that much, or the trades would change quite a bit. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then so you are so you're not for it. For what reason is it? I don't understand.
Not for what?
For free college education.
Wait,
Like, what is your
mic cut
ideal
off.
plan for solving our problem with debt and just college in general?
I mean, some type of means tested like college financing program, maybe similar to the what the UK has, is probably good.
Okay, so like the UK, how does the UK do it? They give like loans or something you don't have to pay back for
Um,
a while.
yeah, they have loans that you pay back based on how much money you earn when you get out of college, and then you've got like maintenance loans that you get if you're in school if you can't afford school completely. They give you loans or grants or whatever based on your financial need. Where the fuck is Emily at right now? Do you know?
Mm-mm. I'm trying to find her.
Motherfucker. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So it doesn't seem like you have all that big of an opinion on that one either.
On which
Um,
one?
on college, it seemed like you were more enthusiastic about your opinion before, but it seems like you're just kind of you seem a
Well,
bit
my
indifferent.
enthusiastic opinion is that like you should fund college, but you shouldn't fund it for everybody. The idea of like making it freely available to every single person
How
is
come
way
though?
too fucking
Why?
expensive. Because of what I just said,
So
because you
how
have
do
to pay.
you? What level do you want to means test it at? Because college is so expensive now that you're essentially including everybody in terms of not being able to afford it. Middle class
Middle
people
class
can't
people
afford
can afford
college.
college just fine. You
No,
just get
dude, it's
loans for it.
incredibly expensive, dude. You're looking at least like what 10, 20K a year at like a UC.
Sure,
Private schools
that's
are
a
even
good
more expensive.
investment. A college degree earns you on average about 20,000 more a year after you earn it than somebody with just high school. So I mean, it's a good investment. Yeah, of course, it's expensive, but like the amount that you invest in college versus how much you make is like at about I think at a pretty low level compared to historical costs for education, like in terms of the amount of money that you earn versus how much the degree costs.
But the burden of it is extremely strong. It's too much for people to bear. And it also prevents people from investing in the economy themselves and spurring
Of
business.
course, it prevents people from investing in the economy. Anytime you spend money on something, it prevents you from investing in something else. But that's not an argument for forgiving all student loans any more than an argument it is for just printing everybody a $50,000 check and saying like, well, look, now that people don't have to pay their bills, they can invest more in the economy. Of course, education is still a worthwhile investment. There's a reason why we'll sit here and complain about how much the cost of education is, but everybody's still going to college. It's because people know it's a good investment, whether they complain about it or not. The amount of money that you earn with a college degree absolutely makes it a worthwhile investment. That's why people still go to school.
So you're saying that basically it's a good investment, and so no matter the debt that they take on, it's fine.
Not no matter the debt, but just the levels of debt that people take on right now for education seems to still make education a worthwhile investment of money.
But I would argue that there's a lot of people who are really burdened by that debt, and I think it's just too much.
On what grounds?
I mean, just I guess common sense grounds. I don't know, like taking in like $100,000 of debt or more seems pretty insane for somebody who's gonna make 80 whatever 80K 100K something like that a year.
Taking on, what did you say, 50K in debt is crazy for
No,
somebody
I'm
that's going to
talking
make
like
80?
no, I'm talking like somewhere around like 80 to 100.
So taking on 100K in debt, you say is not worth it for somebody that's going to make 80 to 100K a year?
I'm saying that the burden is too much. I still think it's worth it ultimately, but I think that you shouldn't have to pay that much money to get a higher education.
Okay, you realize that saying common sense, it's not like an argument, right?
Um, I don't know. I guess I do.
You think that is an argument?
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone just sees a number of student loan debt, and I think that they all understand that it's because you're asking me to determine when it's too much of a burden, and you're basically saying that it would have to get to levels where it's not even worth it to get to college. But I think that it can be problematic
Yeah.
before
Oh no,
someone
you're really
gets to
close.
college.
Yeah, that was the correct answer. When people stop going to school because school
Yeah,
costs
but
too much, it's no longer
that's not
financially
no.
viable.
I don't think
That's
that's a
yeah,
good
that
one
would
though.
that's literally a market force. Yeah, of course. When people are complaining about the fact that education costs too much, but everybody in record numbers is going to college, like, and then coming out and getting like high paying jobs, like, seems like it's not too much. It seems like that investment is still very much worthwhile for a lot of people.
Seems like investment for okay. Well, I still think it is, but I think that we need to lower the debt that people are having because it's too much of a burden on them. And
Okay.
also, I
Well, I mean,
mean,
I guess all the people going to school
plus
are
we want to
just disagreeing with
incentivize
you,
people
but
to get higher education and better jobs as well.
you think what?
I think we should incentivize people to get higher education and better jobs as well.
We need to incentivize people to get higher education to
I
get
think
better
we
jobs?
should. I think we should. And I also don't think it's just for people not to be able to afford it either.
Sure, I don't necessarily disagree. So I think that you should make education more freely available to people that can't afford it, like lower middle class or lower class people, working class people, sure. But I don't think
But
we need to make education free for the upper middle class or free for rich people. It seems really weird.
so what's your cut for like middle class? Because you're talking about taking on like 10, 20K a year at least in student debt.
If your family is earning over 100,000 a year, you've got two kids, you should be able to pay for your kids' education. If you can't budget that out, fuck you. Don't make other people in the country pay for your financial irresponsibility. Or if you're somebody like me,
Are you
like
taking into
I
account
don't
Nebraska
need I
costs or
don't need
California costs?
what?
Are you taking into account Nebraska costs or California costs?
I'll take into account California costs. If you're making over 100,000 a year, you should be able to pay for your kids' school.
For that expense, I don't think you can make that work for 100K because you've got a shit ton of stuff to pay for, and kids are expensive, obviously. But I don't think those numbers really work out, to be honest.
It's more than enough, I promise you.
No, I
If you're making 100,000 a
strongly
year with two
disagree.
kids,
Strongly
you
disagree.
can
You're
do
talking
it.
about combined income.
Yep.
Combined income of a married couple of 100K, and you can pay
Yep.
for $100,000 of student loan debt.
Yep.
Wow.
Do you,
Okay. I
do
mean,
you,
I couldn't
do
disagree
you,
with
if
you
you
more.
want, you what?
I couldn't disagree with you more. I mean, you talk about having
You know
mortgage
what?
and all this
Next
stuff.
stream, then here's some free content for you. Next stream, open an Excel spreadsheet. You can go ahead and do the math. You can do the math on your rent, on all of your expenses, see what kind of a payment you can afford. You'll be surprised. $100,000 a year is a lot of fucking money, my dude. I know that, like, I don't know why we're pretending it's not, but 100,000 a year is a lot of money.
California, it's not that much money, dude.
Where do you live?
I live in the Bay Area.
Okay, you realize you live in one of the well, I don't even know where in the Bay Area you live, but if you live like near San Francisco, you live in one of the most expensive parts of California. You realize that, right? You know that like fucking Orange County or like all of like middle California, like there are cheaper parts to California. Not every part of California is literally like San Francisco tier.
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay, so
That's
maybe a
where most
hundred
people
thousand a
live,
year
though.
isn't enough in literally the most expensive part of the entire country, save like parts of New York. But like, if you're living in like fucking like Sacramento or some shit, or any of like the poorer parts of California, like 100,000 a year is just fine. Even in parts of LA, I know that you can live on the outskirts around here and still be okay.
but we're taking into account student loan debt on top of everything else.
Yeah, taking on like an extra $500 a month payment or something for some parent. Yeah, I think they can handle it. Yeah.
Okay. Guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree there. I don't know.
Okay. Well, next stream you should open a spreadsheet and go through some numbers. You can do some budgeting. It'll be a good life preparation advice for you and everything, dude.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. Uh, wait. Do you have any other topic ideas? I'm trying to think right now. What happened with the? Okay, I don't know if you want me to bring this up. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. I'm just curious. If you could give me a breakdown of the whole N-word controversy.
Yeah, of course. Hold on. Wait, how do you chat in this game? What do you type? I thought it was Y.
No, it's E.
Oh. No, it's not.
It is for me.
Ugh. Oh, T. Oh, sorry. Basically it's just the same position I've always had. I think that there are jokes that I would make in private that I wouldn't feel comfortable making in public.
That's it?
What?
That's it?
Yeah, it's my whole position. It's what it always has been.
And so you basically people started going after you for saying publicly that you say it in private?
Maybe in certain, like quoting certain jokes, whatever. Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And okay. Let me see. How do you feel about Kyle Kulinski?
I just think he's a hack that just shills super hard for the Camp Bernie, basically.
What makes you think that?
Hold on. I need you to come to the trees down here. I fucked one of these up. I don't know. He just says like a lot of like really stupid things that just shill super hard for Bernie. Like basically you're either Bernie or die. And the attacks that he launches on other candidates is just outrageously fucking stupid. One of the most recent examples I can think of was when he tweeted out that like the reason why black people don't support Buttigieg as much as other candidates or whatever is because they don't like his policies, which is hilariously stupid given that black people don't support Bernie as much as they support Biden. So it seems like they don't like Bernie's policies either, or...
Well, Biden
and then
was
watching...
Obama's VP.
Oh, go ahead.
That's the only reason.
Wait, what?
Biden was Obama's VP. That's the reason why black people support him.
Wait, your mic cut out a little bit. Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, sure. Biden was Obama's VP, the first ever black president, so that's why black people support him.
Oh, so black people are too stupid to see past the fact that he was the first black president's VP, but they're not too stupid to see into the specific policies of Pete Buttigieg?
That they're not into specific I don't know. It sounds like a loaded question, but I'm just telling you.
I mean, it sounds like, well, when you say something as dumb as black people don't support Pete Buttigieg because of his policies, but now you're telling me the only reason they support Biden is because he was the first black president's VP. I don't know. Are black people really smart or really stupid? I'm just curious which one it is, because in one version they're really stupid, and in another version they're pretty smart.
I mean, I think there are some voters who in general are stupid, but I don't think that black people are stupid. I think they're just like everyone else. But I think that people...
Wait, do you think that it's kind of stupid if black people support Biden just because he was Obama's VP? That sounds like a stupid thing to believe, no?
I disagree with that assessment, yes. I disagree with the assessment.
Wait, hold on. Don't wiggle. If a black guy told you, I support Biden because he was Obama's VP and Obama was black, would you say, well, that's stupid?
Yes.
Not I disagree with your assessment. You say that's stupid, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you tell me that black people support Biden because Biden was Obama's VP, you're saying that those black voters are stupid, right?
I'm saying those people, yeah, their logic is not sound, yeah.
You're saying those black voters are stupid. So why is it that those black voters are stupid, but the ones that don't support Pete Buttigieg, those ones are smart? Do you see the contradiction here?
That they're smart that they don't support people? I don't understand that. Like they
So
support...
Kyle Kulinski tweeted that the only reason, Kyle Kulinski tweeted that black voters don't support Pete Buttigieg because Pete's policies are bad.
I think that Pete's policies don't reach out to black people at all.
Do Bernie's not either then? Is that why they support Biden more than Bernie?
No, I think Bernie's actually made an outreach for sure. But I mean, yeah, they definitely didn't know. Like now, his numbers are going up with black people, but before they didn't know who he was. In 2016, they didn't know who he was.
They knew who he was at the end of the election cycle. The whole country did. The whole world did.
Yeah, and so that's why
So
his numbers amongst African Americans are going up.
they're not though. They're still way higher for Biden.
Well, I'm sure I don't know what the numbers exactly are, but yeah, I think the his numbers have gone up though, but I don't know what the exact numbers are.
They're still way higher for Biden.
Um, yeah, I think they are higher for Biden.
So are black voters picking candidates based on policy? In which case they're rejecting Bernie Sanders because he has an anti-black policy, or not as much as Biden, or are they picking people based on who was closely associated with Obama?
I think they're right now most of them, like the older voters especially, are choosing Biden for that reason.
Okay. So then would you agree that Kulinski's tweet that black voters are shying away from Pete because of his policies is kind of a stupid tweet?
I mean, I would say that he didn't really have any policies that really reached out to any black people. And I would say that
Bernie doesn't either then? Or because Bernie is still like 15 points under Biden.
but like he still has like actual like black support though. Like Pete had zero.
I don't think Pete had
really
actually
none.
zero. I think it was like 4 or
Pretty
5. It
much
was like
zero.
low, but
Yeah, but it was pretty much zero.
okay.
And so
It's just strange that I continually hear from Bernie bros that like Bernie is the number one candidate for black people, and then the reason why black people don't support Pete is because of his policies, but they don't support Bernie because of some other weird reason.
for some other weird reason.
Yeah, I don't know why you would say they don't support Bernie because they just don't know about him, even though Bernie's had basically continuous news coverage for the past 4 years.
I would say that older voters are gonna stick with who they know, and they're not really paying much attention to Bernie either, and they probably are not receptive to him the same way
Oh,
that other old voters are not in general.
well, why couldn't that be the same reason for Pete then? Maybe older voters just don't look at Pete. They don't know anything about him. They're not receptive to him because they stick with who they're comfortable with.
Wait, what? They stick who they're comfortable. I mean, Pete's a new name. Joe was
Yeah,
a
that's what
long
I'm
before
saying. What I'm
Pete.
saying is, if somebody were to say, "Why aren't black people voting for Pete?" Why wouldn't you use that same reason? Maybe they just don't know him because they're sticking with who they're comfortable with.
Oh, because he has no outreach plan.
Wait, how old are you again?
19.
Okay. This conversation makes me want to kill myself. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay. So what I'm saying is you're giving me one reason why a group of people won't vote for one candidate. But then when I ask you why they're not voting for another candidate, you're giving me a whole different reason. Do you understand that that feels a little inconsistent to me?
I guess I could understand why you feel that way, but I don't think there's one explanation for an election like this.
I don't disagree with that. But if
Like
your
Kamala
reason why
Harris didn't
black
get black
people...
support either, and I think that was
What?
because of policies.
Wait, what?
Like Kamala Harris didn't really get any black support either, and I think that was because of policies.
So why do some black people... Okay, so every single candidate that black people aren't supporting a ton, they don't support because of policies. But the black people that do support a candidate are supporting him because of dumb reasons, like the fact that he was Obama's VP.
I mean,
Why
there's
is
a
it that
split
anytime
amongst black voters. Like, there's a good amount of black voters who support Bernie Sanders.
there is, but Biden still
So
has
some of
way
them
more
vote on
support.
policy reasons. Some of them vote for Biden. What's so hard to understand about that?
Okay,
There's like
do you,
different
but-
reasons for
so
different
here's a
groups.
question that I'm going to ask, and I know 100%. I'll bet my life on it. You don't have an answer to it. Have you seen polling data that shows why certain black people support certain candidates, or are you just totally assuming that the only black people that support Biden do it for dumb reasons, but the black people that support Bernie do it for smart reasons?
I mean, the smarter dumb reasons are, in my opinion, there's two different questions really.
Okay, what is one policy that Bernie Sanders has talked about that targets black people?
Well, in general, his policies have a indiscriminate effect on African Americans.
So
But
Pete
like
Buttigieg
ending the
actually
war on
has a
drugs, for
Douglas
example.
plan that targets
Yeah, he
black
put
people
that
and
in
like
super
historically
late.
black
Yeah,
universities.
he put it in super late, and he faked a bunch of endorsements of him, a bunch of black
Sure. So the
representatives
endorsement
for
thing with
him.
the way that they did that
And
was
he
stupid.
also
But Bernie
put in
literally
a
doesn't
stock
even
photo.
have any policies.
He put a
Bernie
stock
doesn't even.
photo. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bernie doesn't even have any policies that target black people.
Well, ending the war on drugs is something that'll do very discriminate help for African Americans, but everything that he has, universal health care, free college education, it's going to disproportionately impact African Americans.
Okay. That it just seems weird that like Pete has like a specific plan that he announced back in July that helps black people, like specifically. Bernie has no policies that relate
Was
to
the
black
Douglas
people.
plan in July?
I think so. The
I
Douglas
thought he
plan,
just
wasn't it?
releasing that recently. I thought he released it right before the previous debate.
Hold on.
And he used a stock photo of a woman and her child in Kenya.
In July 2019, Buttigieg shared his Douglas plan named for abolitionist Frederick Douglass to address systemic racism in America. It was in July.
It was in July. Interesting. I wonder why I just heard about that right before the
Maybe
previous
because
debate.
you only listen to people like Kyle Kulinski or Michael Brooks.
No, but that's not the reason why.
You don't think that might have something to do
No,
with
it's not, because I saw Cory Booker and people talking about it. Cory Booker
Okay.
had roasted him about it, and he got asked a question about it at the debate. You got anything else?
I think I'm good for now. Listen, the next time you make a hit piece video about me, okay? Let's talk about it, okay? I'm excited. It's fun for me, all right?
Okay. All right.
Okay. I love you, buddy. Be careful, all right?
All right.